Well, some of the things in the Bible are abundantly clear, whilst other things are an absolute mystery. So I think it's really important to look deeper and see if we can find some answers to things that are mysterious. So today I want to explore the red heifer that's in Numbers. The red heifer is different to usual sacrifices because it was actually performed for purification of the temple as opposed to being a sin offering. So let me read Numbers 19, 1 to 8. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "This is a requirement of law that the Lord has commanded. Tell the Israelites to bring you a red heifer without defect or blemish and that has never been under a yoke. Give it to Eleazar, the priest. It is to be taken outside the camp and slaughtered in his presence. Then Eleazar, the priest, is to take some of its blood on his finger and sprinkle it 7 times toward the front of the tent meeting. While he watches, the heifer is to be burned, its hide, flesh, blood, and intestines. The priest is to take some cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet wool and throw them on the burning heifer. After that, the priest must wash his clothes and bathe himself with water. He may then come into the camp, but he will be ceremonially unclean until evening. The man who burns it must also wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he too will be unclean until evening." So that means whoever touches the red heifer in the purification process becomes unclean. Well, that's interesting because it's purifying, so you would assume that it makes them clean. Well, let's have a look at also the difference with the sin sacrifice. Let's look at Leviticus 16:4. He is to put on the sacred linen tunic with linen undergarments next to his body. He is to tie the linen sash around him and put on the linen turban. These are sacred garments, so he must bathe himself with water before he puts them on. And then I'll skip down to 23 of Leviticus 16. Then Aaron is to go into the tent of the meeting and take off the linen garments he put on before he entered the most holy place, and he is to leave them there. He shall bathe himself with water in the sanctuary area and put on his regular garments. Okay, so that's polar opposite. One with the red heifer, they're having to bathe after touching it. So they're clean beforehand and then they get dirty from dealing with it. But in Leviticus, they're considered dirty. They have to clean themselves, put on the holy clothing, do the sacrifice, then cleanse themselves again, assumedly because they've been in such an incredibly holy place, they leave the holiness there rather than taking it with them. So that's really very different. Now, to read in Numbers 19:9. "A man who is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer and put them in a ceremonially clean place outside the camp. They are to be kept by the Israelite community for use in the water of cleansing. It is for the purification of sin. The man who gathers up the ashes of the heifer must also wash his clothes, and he too will be unclean until evening. This will be a lasting ordinance both for the Israelites and for the foreigners residing among them." Well, therefore, there is a double effect with the ashes. For whilst they cleanse people of sin, cleanse the temple of sin, they defile the clean as well. That's confusing because, that doesn't seem to make sense. So that's why it's really powerful to explore it. And there's other differences, is that it's a heifer and it has to be offered outside the camp, whereas the stringent rule with the sin offering is that it's slain on the altar. Obviously, also, there was burning of cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet wool. And it's a female. Heifer's a female, whereas the sin offerings were male. Now, no cheeky comments from you men out there that are saying it's because women need to clean, like my cheeky son would say. But no, in all seriousness, the fact that we can get both clean and unclean from coming into contact with the red heifer is really curious. And there was really strict stipulations about the red heifer. One, it had to be perfect in its redness. Even 2 hairs of any colour would disqualify it. It had to be 3 or 4 years older. 3 or 4 years old or a little bit older, but it could be younger than that. It must be free of any kind of internal or external defect or blemish. So no, I don't know if cows get moles on them or whatever on their skin, or no cysts, or if when they killed it, I assume they cut its neck. If there was a tumour or anything like that, that was it. It couldn't be used. And it must not have been used for any physical labour at all, not under the yoke, not even once. All over the duration of the 1,000 years that the temple was there, the Jews say that there was 9 red heifers that they killed in addition to the one that was done in Numbers, until the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. And since then, the Jews have been looking for the perfect red heifer. They thought they found one in 1997 and then another one in 2002, but on closer inspection that they found one of them had 2 black hairs on it, so that disqualified it. So that means for 2,000 years, the Israelites have just been waiting and been looking for the red heifer and nothing. Yet in the first 1,000 years, they had 9 red heifers that were there to cleanse the temple according to Jewish history, not according to the Bible. So they're obviously very patient in their waiting, the same as we are waiting for Jesus' return. But I wonder why it is that there has not been the perfect heifer yet. Because I wonder how many people would have walked away from their belief in God while they were awaiting the red heifer. How many were lost because they just gave up? And why do humans both get clean and unclean with the red heifer? Well, I want to explore some biblical truths, and that will help us grasp why the waiting is so long. For starters, we know that God doesn't want anyone to perish, and he wants us to spread the word through every corner of the earth. So that's really important. But what about the negative effect on those people that have waited so long and suffered lots in the meantime? Well, I found the answer to that this week, and it was really unexpected in how I found the answer to that. And it might sound unrelated when you first hear it, but trust me, it ties in, because God's amazing. He always ties everything in to make us understand. As I talk about lots, I do lots of evangelism, and I come across all sorts of different people. And this week I've been in contact with this man for a few months trying to talk to him. He's a staunch atheist, and he just attacks Christians every single day. His goal in life is to attack Christians and attack God. And I'd been really patient with him and trying to teach him stuff, and then I just lost it. I just said, look, if you're so certain, why the heck are you bothering all these people day in and day out? Go out and live your life. And then I just thought, I don't know, maybe I did the wrong thing and I feel really defeated. And so I said to God, I picked up my Bible and I said, God, I need leadership with what to do. Have I done the right thing? Have I done the wrong thing? Show me a verse. I closed my eyes and I opened my Bible. And on the very top page of my Bible was Psalm 14. And I'm going to read it. For the director of music of David, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. Their deeds are vile. There is no one who does good. That certainly resonated with the man that I was thinking about, because he was so aggressive and condescending, and people attacking people for their faith. Some people it's actually in a group that we talk. And so you could see some people coming on with perhaps weaker faith, and he'd just go for the jugular. He would just attack them. And I thought, he's vile and he's not doing any good. Oh, let me continue reading Psalm 14. The Lord looks down from heaven on all mankind to see if there are any who understand, any who seek God. All have turned away. All have become corrupt. There is no one who does good, not even one. Do all these evildoers know nothing? They devour my people as though eating bread. They never call on the Lord. But there they are, overwhelmed with dread. You evildoers frustrate the plans of the poor, but the Lord is their refuge. Oh, that salvation for Israel would come out of Zion. When the Lord restores his people, let Jacob rejoice and Israel be glad. Wow, that was incredible. That just spoke to me so much, and it explained to me that this man was not doing any good. I was trying so hard to teach him stuff, and so were so many other people in the group. I'd seen so many people who had given him so many expressions of what they've experienced with God, and understanding of trying to help him understand the Bible, but he was just not interested. He just wanted to attack everyone and mock everyone. Well, if that wasn't big enough learning, just to open my Bible and bang, there's Psalm 14. There was more. God hadn't finished with me. So the next morning I woke up after reading it, and I genuinely have a lot of trouble remembering numbers of verses. You can say to me, ask me a question about the Bible, and I'll say, yes, blah, 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 and explain it, but I won't know what verse it is. But I woke up in that morning and I thought, yep, I know exactly what psalm it is. It's Psalm 53. So I opened, the day before when I'd read it, I'd put a piece of paper in it so that I wouldn't forget it. So I opened it up to Psalm 53 and went, yep, that's it, spot on, read it, yep, exactly the same. And then I thought, what happened to the piece of paper? I had a piece of paper in the Bible. I don't know what I did with it. I was curious because it definitely wasn't around me. So I looked, I went, it wasn't Psalm 53 that I've marked, it's Psalm 14. How did I know that to look at Psalm 53 that says exactly the same as Psalm 14? God had obviously wanted me to understand how important it is, because if he's going to write something once, it's important. If he's writing it twice, he's really saying, hey, Carolyn, take notice. So because I found it the second time, I thought, maybe I should look and see what else there is. So I looked, and in Romans 3:10-12, it says almost identical. As it is written, there is no one righteous, not even one. There is no one who understands. There is no one who seeks God. All have turned away. They have together become worthless. There is no one who does good, not even one. Wow, that was mind-boggling. And it really made me think about how God was giving me a strong message that some people are just so focused on evil that they don't want anything to do with God. But I also did think about Romans, another verse in Romans. What shall we conclude then? Do we have any advantage? Not at all. For we have already made the charge that Jews and Gentiles alike are under the same power of sin. So that powerfully answers those Psalms that I just read. Firstly, the first question that I had about the red heifer, if people would be negatively affected in their faith by having to wait for 2,000 years for God to bring another red heifer for the new temple that was to be built. And that's an absolutely yes. But if they've turned away in the waiting, then they value themselves as more important, and they don't value God's plan, and their heart's not truly with God in the first place. They're valuing evil. They're thinking they're more important than they are. So God values them as worthless. Let me just read that again. All have turned away. They have together become worthless. There is no one who does good. No, not even one. And that man was just not doing any good. He was a really evil man. And as I said, like I said to him, your life's so amazing and you're so certain God is not real. Go live your life. You've only got 80 to 120 years. Stop picking on all of these people. Stop trying to devour them like bread, like the verse said. But those verses answered that certainly, but they didn't answer how we can get clean and unclean in the same activity, like with the red heifer. Well, that question was answered by dealing with another atheist this week. And He's very similar to the other man, very attacking, does it every single day, is relentless, but he is actually a Satanist. He has, I've seen his Facebook page, and his profile picture is Satan, and he's also told me that he's homosexual, and that's why he hates God, because he doesn't think God should be stopping him. So you're thinking, well, yeah, how does that make us clean and unclean? Well, let me read Leviticus 16:26 first. The man who releases the scapegoat, which is, the scapegoat was to take people's sin out, and it was going to be let go, and it was going to be sent out to the bush, must wash his clothes and bathe himself with water. Afterward, he may come into the camp. So that means that the person who's taking the scapegoat, who's taking the people's sin, is taking on some of the sin, and so he has to wash himself before he can come back to the camp. This applies to the two men that I was dealing with, the second one in particular, because as I was feeding him, and I have been for the last, 6 months at least, Bible verses, sometimes he's okay, other times he spews out vile and disgusting filth, absolute filth. There's no other word for it. And I find that can start to drag me down. It can make me start to feel the darkness closing in. And I've experienced it when I was reading the Quran as well, because I wasn't reading the Quran to become a Muslim. I was reading it to try and reach Muslims, but I couldn't. I found I had to stop reading it. At that time, I was also talking to a Muslim woman. She was a Catholic lady who had become Muslim, and what was coming out of that woman's mouth was absolutely, positively vile about what she was allowing with her daughters to by men. And there's no other way to explain it other than I could feel the darkness closing in around me, and I felt like there was trying to strangle me. And so I had to walk away. I actually stopped talking to the lady. I deleted everything to do with her, and I stopped, and I got the Quran and I defaced it, which is very funny because somebody didn't believe me recently and wanted to see the Quran, and I've written on the front of it, Jesus is God, and scratched all the front of it and all sorts of things. But I was becoming unclean by trying to clean them, by trying to help them. And not that that's an excuse not to do it, because it's not, but it just means that we can become, the vileness of them can start to affect us. So we need to, in some way, cleanse ourselves from associating with those people, because we don't want to absorb any of their uncleanness. And the person requires physical and symbolic purification. So the person doing God's work must be clean and holy, as in the same as we read, but they must be careful not to take the evil and that they're trying to cleanse from somebody else. That makes so much more sense about the red heifer. So it was taken to purify the sin and things from the temple and from the people, but because it was absorbing it, they had to be careful that they didn't absorb it. But then when the water was added to it, they were able to cleanse their sins with the ashes. So powerful, really powerful. So how I cleanse myself, I don't obviously have the red heifer, and we because that's for the temple, but I find cleansing myself with the word and prayer is amazing. And if they start to get too too oppressive on me, then just step away, step back, and just have nothing to do with them for a while, and just take time to cleanse myself. And that's what we all need to do. That's what you need to do if you're out talking to people. If you're talking to people in your workplace, socially, who are not loving God, then you can absorb some of their sin, their vileness, just by talking to them. So we all need to be so careful about who we're dealing with. Now, there's another 2 Psalms, because I found the 2 Psalms, well, God showed them to me, I didn't find them, 14 and 53. I wondered what other Psalms were repeated and whether it was relevant to what I was talking about today. And they are. There's two that are another two that are repeated, and that's Psalm 42 and 43. And 43 is more succinct, but I'll just then tack on a bit on the end from 42 because it isn't included in 43. Vindicate me, Lord, and plead my cause against an unfaithful nation. Rescue me from those who are deceitful and wicked. You are God, my stronghold. Why have you rejected me? Why must I go about mourning, oppressed by the enemy? Send me your light, your faithful care. Let them lead me. Let them bring me to your holy mountain, to the place where you dwell. Then I will go to the altar of God, to God, my joy and my delight. I will praise you with the lyre, O God, my God. Why, my soul, are you downcast? Why so disturbed within me? Put your hope in God, for I will praise him, my Saviour and my God. And then Psalm 42, just the ending. I say to God, my rock, why have you forgotten me? Why must I go about mourning, oppressed by the enemy? My bones suffer mortal agony as my foes taunt me, saying to me all day long, where is your God? So that is so powerful to think about with the red heifer, because Israel is most certainly, maybe they feel like they're rejected because it's been such a long time and they've suffered so much. They need rescue from the deceitful and from the wicked. And they long for the altar of God to be back on the mount again. So you can see how relevant that is and how it ties in, because we see there that and at the end of 42 it says, put your hope in God, for I will yet raise him, my Saviour and my God. We are only rescued from the deceitful and the wicked by God, and we must have all of our hope in God. The red heifer was certainly cleansing, but faith in God is always cleansing, as is reading the word. And we are never, ever, ever forgotten, even if it's been 2,000 years for them waiting for the red heifer, or if it's been a long time for you, 2 years for you waiting for something. God has never rejected us, and he won't ever reject us unless we reject him. The people that turn away in the waiting, they're not worthy, as they have been focused entirely on themselves rather than on God. They want it all now, 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 now. God is the only way that we can protect ourselves from the evil, from when we're trying to clean people and trying to help people and trying to teach people. He is the only way that we can protect ourselves. We put on the armor, but we remember as we speak to evil people that they are filled with sin, and Satan wants to just pour it all over us. Both of the Psalms also demonstrate God's truth that we see in Israel. They don't have the red heifer. They don't have the temple and haven't for 2,000 years. Yet because of their faith, God is vindicating them and saving them against the untruthful nations that want them dead. They are certainly being oppressed by many countries. More are stepping up and saying that Palestine needs to have their own state, but they put their hope in God with everything. Now, going back to the red heifers, there's Jewish scholars and there's Jewish sage, the Maimonides, I'll put it up here, I don't know how to pronounce it, believed that the 10th animal would only be found and sacrificed when the King Messiah was ready to appear. Well, I believe that too, because Jesus is the perfect cleanser of unclean people. So the temple will be rebuilt with those that stayed trusting God, and then Jesus will reveal himself to everyone, as he says in the Bible that he will reveal himself to Israel. And I see the faith of the Israelites, and it's so lovely to see them constantly saying, don't even go and try and pronounce it, Israeli Chai or something like that, which means, I think it's in God we trust or something. And I see now also that they're making preparations. They don't have the red heifer, they don't have the ashes, and because they also believe that they need to have the ashes of the other 9 because they used to mix them together, but they've gone. So they're still just going ahead. They've got Texan Jewish ranchers looking to see if they've got perfect red heifers, and they're also training men that would be suitable to preach in the temple. And they're also putting up flags around Gaza of the third temple, so saying that, the time is coming. And what's really interesting to see is that I noticed that Islam, as I talked about in other ones, I believe strongly the Antichrist will come from, is terrified of the red heifer and terrified of the temple being built. Because I saw on Al Jazeera the other day, which is their sort of media thing that they have on the internet for them, the degree of worry they've got about all of that happening. Well, Israel has certainly suffered dreadfully at the hands of evil, but they're not staying downcast. They're having the Iranians say that they're seeing supernatural help happening for Israel because Israel has kept their faith. Sure, there would have been people that dropped off, like I spoke about, that lost their faith, but so many of the Israelites have got such strong faith. God is on the move, and by immersing ourselves so much deeper in the Word, we find answers, clues, and faith that we never saw before. Because I had skipped over those Bible verses because I'm somebody that can read things and it can go in and go out. Whereas when I research, it helps me to remember things so much more readily. So that's why I hadn't remembered that 14 and 53, because I just would have been doing the Bible app going, read. Yep, read today's. Read. Yep, read today's, because that's not how I learn. Maybe that's how you learn, but that's not how I learn. So it's so important, however you learn, to make sure you do learn and you do keep reading the Bible in some way so to help you to understand more deeply. Now, one other thing that I found out this week that is fascinating, that pulls this red heifer thing all together as well. And it's a Jewish custom that they do the night before Passover, and it's called Afikomen, I think. And it's where they get the unleavened bread, they break it in half, they wrap one lot in cloth, and they hide it, and it's to be set aside. Now, to understand the meaning of what this is, the Afikomen is actually a Greek word. You think about the enormity of that for starters, when they speak Hebrew and they don't believe in the New Testament that was written in Greek. And they're using this Greek word to follow. And what the word means is that which comes after. Well, given that it's a Greek word and given that it's wrapped in cloth and it comes after, and Jesus was wrapped in cloth and he came after, and then he will reveal himself when the time is, when all the Gentiles have come in, it just seems to make so much sense because they foreshadow Christ. Christ was wrapped and put away, and he's coming to cleanse the temple. He's put away for another time. He's put away for that which comes after. And they have to wait for the red heifer, and all of us have to wait for Jesus's return. Jesus is different though, in that obviously, unlike the red heifer and unlike the scapegoat, we can have as much to do with Jesus as we like, and we never get unclean. We get more clean the more we deal with him, the more we spend time with him, the more we pour our love and affection on him, because he's perfection. So as we learn, our faith grows and we have the capacity to lead more people forward. We learn that God is never failing and he always has a plan, even in the mystery. If we keep on praising and keep on believing, we receive mercy and his grace in his mighty name. He changes us as we believe. He fills us and he heals us when we believe. In the mystery, in the waiting, we have faith that he is coming with his kingdom to save all of us and to make us pure and clean. I hope you enjoyed learning about the red heifer, because I found it powerful to understand, whilst we still don't understand the mystery of why it was female or why they burnt the herbs with it, we have more of a grasp of how we can become clean and unclean and why the waiting has been so long. I encourage you this week to listen to The Mystery of Faith by Glenn Peckham, and as you do, I couldn't find one on YouTube that had the lyrics as you're listening to it. So I read the lyrics and I found it really powerful. So I hope you do too. And also In the Waiting by Zach Rowe. God's power is mysterious sometimes, but he is always amazing, loving, and fulfilling his promises. Let's watch and wait and see what happens with this red heifer. God bless you.